It's going to be a read option once again, and Span keeps it himself, and Span is into the end zone. Touchdown, Illinois. Deuce Span, his 4th rushing touchdown of the night. Unbelievable. Illinois now has 15 yards standing between them and potentially knocking off number 4. Pyfiri looking to throw. He's going to fire for Yassine, and Yassine breaks away, but he's going to be short. He didn't get there. This ball game is over. Illinois has knocked off Purdue on the road. What a stop from Illinois, and in double overtime, they upset Purdue. Number 4 goes down. These Illini have done it again. The team rushes to celebrate at midfield as Ross-Ade Stadium is silenced.
Welcome back to the Illinois Fighting Illini Dynasty. I'm your host, Jay Shoob, and we got another good episode for you guys here today as it's recruiting update number 2. A lot of new information on the recruiting grounds to cover. But first, before we get into recruiting, I will briefly go over the Big Ten standings, the top 25 polls, show you guys the Heisman race and other stuff that's going around college football. Starting with the Big Ten standings. So, as you all know, Wisconsin is the next opponent up for Illinois. They are 10-0, 7-0 in Big Ten conference play, and there's Illinois one game behind them at 6-1 in conference play. And this game coming up next week between Illinois and Wisconsin, the winner of that game will be in the driver's seat to win the Big Ten West Division and go to the Big Ten Championship. As far as over in the East, we haven't checked over here in a while, but Penn State, the Nittany Lions, right now are leading the Big Ten Eastern Division. However, the only team that has a shot of beating out Penn State is Michigan, and Michigan's a half a game behind them right now at 5-3. But Michigan beat Penn State head-to-head as we look at Penn State's schedule. They of course beat our Illini earlier in the year, but they lost on the road to Michigan 31-17. So Michigan owns the head-to-head. So Penn State would have to lose one of their next 2 games, and Michigan would need to beat Ohio State in their final game in order for Michigan to tie Penn State and win the Big Ten East and get the head-to-head tiebreaker. However, if Penn State wins their final 2 games, or if Michigan loses to Ohio State, then Penn State would go to the Big Ten Championship. So a couple interesting races in both divisions going down to the wire once again in the Big Ten. The top 25 polls now. 2 weeks left to go in the regular season. Notre Dame, Clemson, and Wisconsin are the only 3 undefeated teams remaining in college football. And going down the list here, we see Purdue drop to number 10 after their loss to Illinois. And Illinois, of course, is number 12, as we covered at the end of the video last week. Nebraska, who Illinois beat, is number 13. So Illinois now has wins over number 10 and number 13, both on their resume to this point. Going down the list here, Penn State is number 17. And then looking here at the Heisman race, Brendan Clark, the quarterback for Notre Dame, believe it or not, he is still leading the Heisman race right now. Daniel Carter, Peter Parrish, the senior QB from Memphis, up there as well. Sam Adams, the second from Washington, and then KJ Jefferson from Arkansas. So a handful of quarterbacks up there on the Heisman, in the Heisman race right now. And now we will move over to recruiting. So as I said, a lot to cover, and we will start with the wide receivers. Since I last showed you guys the recruiting, a lot has changed on this front. And we'll start here with Andy Parks. He's a solid 4-star possession receiver. And his only offer right now is from Illinois. Illinois got in on him early. And since we last showed adding Andy Parks to the board in the first recruiting episode, Illinois is looking very good to get him. A very underrated get there. Jacob White out of California, he's a new addition to the board. He's a 3-star gem prospect, a possession wide receiver. You can see his catching grades down there at the bottom, 77, 76, and 75 across the board. So very balanced there. He's also got decent route running skills. Not the fastest guy, but a big possession receiver. Those are the types of guys Illinois is looking for. And Illinois right now, like Andy Parks, they are his only offer, and he's scheduled to visit next week. So Illinois is looking very good to get these big 2 receivers right here who can go up and get the ball. Brandon Hawkins out of Florida. Brandon Hawkins was sort of a fallback option for Illinois this entire time, and Illinois hesitated to offer him, but they finally decided to offer him a scholarship just recently, and he has been favoring Illinois all season. He really wants to come and play for the Illini, so even though he will be lower on the depth chart, Illinois decided to give him a scholarship. And then Marvin Pugh, the last wide receiver here, he has been on Illinois' board all season, and like those other guys, Illinois is his only offer, and the Illini are really raking in. They are about to land all 4 of these guys. It's just a matter of when, not if, they commit. And Marvin Pugh will be a speedy slot receiver. And so Illinois doing a really good job on this front. The wide receivers has been certainly a position of need in my opinion. Now moving over to tight end, where Illinois will only have 2 tight ends on the roster next season. And Ray Davis, the number 2 tight end in the country, a 4-star, he unfortunately has locked Illinois out of his recruiting race. And right now the 2 schools that he is looking to go to are both Northwestern and Duke. He already visited both of those schools, so unfortunately Illinois did not make the cut for Ray Davis, and that's a tough loss because Ray Davis would have started immediately for this Illini team next season. In my opinion, he's already better than Zach Anderson or Robert Franklin, so he's a guy that would have started as a true freshman next season, but unfortunately Illinois will miss out on him. So now Illinois is considering backup options at tight end. Eddie West out of Oklahoma, he was recently added to the board. He's more of a blocking tight end, and he was offered by Illinois, but he is favoring Missouri right now, even though Missouri has not offered him. So it'll be interesting to see what Illinois does here. They haven't put a ton of emphasis on him in the recruiting cycle, but Illinois is not really sure what to do here with the tight end position, which will quickly, with the loss of Griffin Moore, will become sort of a position of need in the near future here. Now moving over to offensive tackle, Eric Singleton. It's right now with Eric Singleton, the 3-star out of Grambling, Louisiana. It's a 3-horse race between Vanderbilt, Duke, and Illinois. He's already made his visit to Duke, which has propped them up into his top 3, but he's yet to visit Illinois and Vanderbilt. He is, of course, visiting us next week, so we shall see where he ends up going. Illinois, of course, looking to add depth at this position as always. Jason Clark, the number 42 ranked tackle, a 3-star out of Glen Ellen in Illinois, a home state kid. He unfortunately locked Illinois out, so Illinois couldn't get him to stay in state. And then Ben Mays out of Florida. He is a new fallback option that Illinois is considering. He's got very good impact blocking skills. His impact blocking grade there is 86. But as of right now, he's favoring TCU and Penn State, so it doesn't really look like Illinois will go that heavily after him in the long run, but Illinois is just sorting to see if they can hang on and add another depth piece here at this position if they don't get Eric Singleton. Now defensive end, moving to the defensive side of the ball, Dan Lumpkin. He's been on the board since the very beginning of this recruiting cycle, and he looks very solid for Illinois as he has had all season. Dan Lumpkin, his only offers are TCU and our Illini. Of course, TCU sort of crept up recently, but right now he's projected to go to Illinois, so Illinois is looking good to get him. That's definitely a position that Illinois needs to take in multiple guys. Illinois is willing to take in up to 3 of these guys here at this position. Chris Smith out of El Paso, Texas. Chris Smith, right now, it's neck and neck between Illinois and Kentucky. He visits both of these schools in the next 2 weeks. He visits Kentucky, and then he visits us against Northwestern. So Chris Smith will be down to the wire with him. Again, he's just another depth piece here. But then Keenan Norman out of Brookfield, Illinois, the 4-star number 2 ranked defensive end in this class. Illinois had to break the lock to get in on him. And Illinois has recently had a very big surge to get to the top of his list. He is Illinois' top target. And now it appears that Iowa State is the only threat standing between Keenan Norman and him coming to Champaign. He already visited Iowa State a couple weeks ago, so he'll be visiting us this week against Wisconsin. And if Illinois makes a good impression on him, they could finally land one of the top targets in this recruiting class. He's a guy that could see playing time right away next year. He's, of course, an in-state kid, so this would be a huge get for Illinois if they can pull this off. And another big get, if Illinois could get him, is Andy Franklin, the number 3 ranked defensive end in the country, also a home state kid out of Illinois. It's been a 2-horse race between the Illini and TCU all season long, and TCU has been the favorite, and they've been a steady favorite. And same thing with Keenan Norman. He visits both of these schools in the next 2 weeks. He'll be visiting us the final week when we play Northwestern. So it'll be the last chance for Illinois to make a good impression on him. If Illinois gets one of these 2 guys, Keenan Norman or Andy Franklin, they'd be ecstatic. If they get both, it would be fantastic. But we shall see. Now moving over to defensive tackle, Illinois is willing to take both of these guys. The first guy is Jonathan Sims. From the very get-go, Jonathan Sims was a gem prospect that Illinois found, and he's been all in on the Illini. He is a lock to commit to this school, but I think that he's just waiting to make his official visit before he makes his final decision. But it looks like he will be in a Illini uniform next season, who will add another good prospect to this good position here. And then John Williams out of Hawaii, another kid from Hawaii, a 4-star that Illinois just added to the board recently. He's got a very balanced skill set, and it's very early in his recruiting process so far, even though he's starting very late here in the cycle. But right now, Illinois is his only offer outside of Washington, and you can see he's got a list of a bunch of schools there, and he's not really favoring any schools in particular very much more over others. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Of course, Illinois is looking to get that early edge with the scholarship offer, but again, Illinois is sort of taking a late flyer on John Williams, and it wouldn't be the end of the world if they don't get him, because they're already projected to land Jonathan Sims. But of course, it would be another big get at that position. Now outside linebacker, Bill McDonald, the other Hawaii gem prospect that Illinois found. Bill McDonald has been solid all season for Illinois. Illinois is, believe it or not, his only offer, which I cannot believe that the big schools there are overlooking him. But he is rock solid to commit to Illinois. He's probably waiting to make his official visit next week, so that'll be a great addition. He's another guy that could see the field right away next year. Kyle Robinson out of Missouri. Right now, it's still a 3-horse race between Missouri and Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State recently made a push to the top of his list, but they have a narrow edge. He just visited them last week. But of course, he's visiting us against Wisconsin, and then he makes his visit to Missouri in the final week. So it may come down to those final 3 visits to see where he ends up going. Because of the rise of Bill McDonald, and of course, Illinois already landed Anthony Horton. It wouldn't be the end of the world if they don't land him. Now moving over to cornerback, where Wesley Lynch is a new addition at this position. He's a 3-star gem prospect. He's got very good coverage skills there. And it looks like Illinois will be in a battle with UVA in order to get him. So Illinois will try to pry away the 3-star corner out of his home state and come out west to Champaign. And it's very early in the cycle for him. He's just starting his recruiting process, but it appears that it'll be Illinois and Virginia, the 2 horses in this race. But of course, they already landed Mike Wise, as you can see. So that would be another great get for Illinois, adding a ton of depth to this already good position that Illinois has put an emphasis on in this dynasty. So we shall see how it plays out. And then lastly, Mark Wilson. He's another addition to the board here. He's got decent coverage skills. Of course, he's not quite as talented as Wesley Lynch or Mike Wise. And Illinois has not offered him yet. He's considered a fallback option. So again, not really a big deal if Illinois does not land him. Actually, Texas A&M has offered him. So we shall see where he ends up going, but not a big deal if Illinois doesn't land him. And then the last position to cover here are the athletes. These guys Illinois can put in multiple positions. The first guy is Lawrence Carter, a 4-star out of New Jersey. Lawrence Carter was a very savvy addition to the board. He can play wide receiver or cornerback, as we went over on the first recruiting update. And right now he's looking very good for Illinois. Nebraska is the only other school that has offered him, and he's yet to make his visits to either school, but right now he's projected to cut Nebraska off and commit to Illinois. So unless Nebraska makes a huge push here with their visit this week, it looks like Lawrence Carter is looking very good for Illinois. Thomas Parsons, he is a new addition to the board out of North Carolina, and he's got an interesting skill set here. Illinois is thinking maybe of putting him at linebacker. There's not really a specific spot where Illinois wants to put him just yet, but we shall see if he ends up committing what Illinois does with him. And as of right now, Illinois is his only offer, so if things hold up true, Illinois looks very good to get him, but of course he's looking at some other big schools on his list, so unless those big schools come in at the last minute, which we have seen happen before, Illinois won't have him pried away. Joel Sherman is the last guy we will cover here. He can also play cornerback or wide receiver. He's been on the board since the very beginning, and Illinois is looking very good to land him. Illinois and Mississippi State are his only two offers. He just recently visited Mississippi State, and Mississippi State made a little bit of a push up to the top of his list, but it looks like he will commit to Illinois. And right now, there's only 3 signings that Illinois has. Tommy Townsend, Mike Wise, and Anthony Horton, all very good recruits, all very good pieces. And an updated view of the prospect map here. You can see the national approach that Illinois is taking. Of course, most of their recruits are in the Midwest and the Southeast, but you can see Illinois is targeting a couple recruits out west in California, Montana, Wyoming, even a couple guys in Hawaii, believe it or not, that Illinois has found that look very good to commit to Illinois. So Illinois is really diversifying their geographical approach here in this recruiting cycle, and they're just going for the best talent available. So now we will move ahead, and the last part of this video will be the Wisconsin game preview. A lot of you guys came here just for this. Wisconsin, this is a very, very good team that Illinois will be facing once again. It's a very big game for a multitude of reasons. There will be a lot of big name prospects that we just covered, highlighted by Keenan Norman and Anthony Parks, among others, that will be visiting this week. And Illinois will be at home for the first time in this dynasty. They will play Wisconsin at home. It'll be a night game. I cannot wait for it. Wisconsin right now is a 4-point favorite on the road. And you can see here the numbers for Wisconsin. Wisconsin is number 3 in the country statistically in total offense, and they are number 1 in total defense. So Wisconsin has the number 1 total defense in the entire country and the number 3 total offense. That is pretty amazing if you ask me. Wisconsin has dominated the competition all season long. It'll be very two good defenses going up against one another, but the difference is Wisconsin also has a prolific offense. Graham Mertz, their quarterback, he's one of the best QBs in the entire country. He will be a high draft prospect. I'm kind of surprised he's not on the Heisman list at this point in the season, but you can just see his numbers there. They're very good. Julius Davis, their running back, he has not really skipped a beat from what they lost last season, but he's averaging 126.5 yards per game, which is very good. They have a very good offensive line, as always. So Wisconsin can beat you through the air with a good quarterback, and they also like to ground and pound, a very good offensive line. So Illinois will certainly have their hands full, and you can see their schedule here. They have just really dominated the competition all season long. What kind of scares me about Wisconsin is they have really beat up on teams that Illinois struggled with. Illinois, of course, lost to Penn State and Happy Valley, but Wisconsin beat them 42-17. Illinois struggled with Iowa, and Wisconsin beat them 38-7. Same thing with Nebraska and Minnesota. They beat both of those teams by 2 scores. So Wisconsin has not played a single one-score game all season long. And if Illinois can keep this game close, it'll be interesting to see how Wisconsin responds, since they have not really had to play a close game all season. And taking a look here at this roster, highlighted of course by Graham Mertz and Julius Davis, their 2 best players. Very good running back depth, and you can see their right tackles, their left tackles, their right guard. A lot of offensive linemen that are highly graded players up at the top of this roster. A very good run game, and of course it'll be strength on strength with this Illinois rushing defense that's also one of the best in the country. So I cannot wait to see the talent matchup that goes on in the trenches between this Illini defensive line and the Wisconsin offensive line. It'll be a very good battle, but what worries me about this game is that Illinois has played back-to-back overtime games against top 5 teams, And of course, Illinois won both of those games, but this team has had to go through a lot of adversity, and they're kind of beat up and bruised after these games the last 2 weeks. So it'll be interesting to see if Illinois can keep it up and rally the troops for one more week against what is no doubt the best team of these teams that Illinois has faced in the Big Ten West. So we shall see what happens. My biggest fear is that Illinois has just run out of gas after playing 2 overtime games the last 2 weeks against really good teams, and Wisconsin rolls through them. But knowing Coach Deal, I'm sure he will have his team ready to play as always. It's again one of the biggest games in the history of this program because a Big Ten championship is possibly at stake here. If Illinois wins this game, all they would have to do is beat Northwestern next week, and Illinois would be in the Big Ten championship game against either Michigan or Penn State. So we shall see how it plays out. This Illini defense will face the toughest test of the season. They will go up against an offense that can run the ball down your throat and also throw the ball through the air with one of the best quarterbacks in the country. So it'll be a strength on that side of the ball. And as far as offensively for Illinois, there's no question about it. Deuce Spann in this offense, they will have to be on their A game. They're facing the #1 total defense in the country. Of course, Illinois has faced really good defenses all season long, and this offense will have to make sure to not turn the ball over and really see if they can fight and scratch and claw for some points and hope that the defense plays a really good game as well. So I cannot wait for it. I hope you guys are excited, and I will see you guys for the next episode, where we'll be facing off against the #3 undefeated Wisconsin Badgers at home in Memorial Stadium. See you guys then.